guys, it's Bree and Walter, and welcome to my channel, Just Breezy. So I haven't posted a video in a while sharing anything about my mental health journey, if you want to call it that. But I wanted to update you guys. You've been so great about leaving comments and sharing your own personal experiences and asking questions. So I wanted to share with you something pretty personal that happened recently. I had a really, I would say, severe panic attack. For me, it was severe. And I wanted to share about this the past couple of weeks, but every time I would go to talk about it, it would sort of trigger like an emotional response, you know, like when you talk about something a little too soon to when it occurred, and then you kind of feel like you're in it. So I was like, meh, not ready. And today I was like, no, I can. It's far enough removed where I could talk about it. I think it was right after the Uvalde shootings at the elementary school. And I know, you know, just like many of you, I really struggled with that event, you know, how somebody once again could enter a school and kill children and their teachers and the families going through all of that. But I have shared in other videos that for me, a big trigger for my anxiety is the safety of my family and my friends. You know, when I was younger, I would always sort of obsessively think about what happens if something happens to my mom. And then as I got older, it was what happens if something happens to my husband. And I would sort of like have all these intrusive thoughts about how they would die, how I would find out, how that would affect my life, how I would it was terrible. And then when I had children, I really struggled with that. So it was probably a week after the Uvalde shooting, and it was a day where, just like many parents or many of you who don't have children, but you have busy lives, my son had a baseball game at the same time that my daughter had an event at her school later in the day. It was the 5th grade movie night where they were getting like a big screen inside the gym and making donuts and just something fun for the kids since they were graduating elementary school. Anyway, so I was kind of like, not anxious, but just like amped up, you know, all right, my son has to be here, she has to be here, how am I gonna, I'll do this first, whatever. And I decided I was gonna drop my daughter off at her event first and then shoot over to the baseball game with my son because it's close to the house. So I do that, I get to the baseball game, my dad is there, my husband shows up a little later from work, and I'm finally just sort of sitting down, taking a breath. My son gets up at bat, you know, woohoo, clapping, cheering on for the team. And then all of a sudden, this thought, it was one thought entered my mind, and it was, are the doors to the school locked? Right? Because our school, thankfully, is wonderful with security, and the doors are always locked. But it was after hours, and I was thinking about how I dropped my daughter off pretty easily, walked in, dropped her off, see you later, left. And I realized that the doors weren't locked when I did that. That it was, they were opened for parents to bring their kids in. And I couldn't get off of that thought of, are the doors locked? So I felt myself starting to have, I would say, some anxiety about that. And I felt the intrusive thoughts coming on that I'm usually pretty good now that I'm on medicine at recognizing them, like sort of pushing them away by redirecting myself. I don't allow myself to go into that loop of thinking, but I couldn't stop thinking about the doors being locked. And in the meantime, and I don't know if you've experienced this, where on the outside, you're sort of playing a role, you know, of like, whether you're at work or whether you're a parent or whether you're just a person out in public trying to act like a functioning human being, but inside you're dying, right? Like anxiety is killing you. And that's what started to happen to me. I'm sitting there with other baseball parents and woohoo, let's go, buddy. And I'm like literally clapping. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, the doors aren't locked. The doors, somebody's going to come in with a gun. Somebody's going to come in with a gun and the doors aren't locked. So I said to myself, get up and just call the school. Just call and say, hey, listen, my fears are heightened with everything that's happened recently, right? So I walk away. My husband's kind of like, where are you going? I'm like, I'll be right back. I walk away, I call the school, and I get the security guard on the phone, who I absolutely love. And I said, listen, Stanley, I'm gonna sound crazy right now, but just bear with me. I said, when I dropped my daughter off, the doors were open for drop off. Could you please just tell me that the doors are locked? And he's like, don't you worry. I got you. You know, I completely understand. But yes, we're locking all the doors. Once the kids are in, the doors will be locked and nobody will be able to get into the building. Even for pickup, the doors will be locked and we'll walk the kids out. I'm like, okay, great. Thank you so much. And I hung up the phone and I stood there. And for some reason, even though logically I knew that that was what the school had done, I couldn't let go of that thought. I just couldn't. And it was starting to manifest into these feelings, these physical feelings that I get when my anxiety would be really high. And that is like that tightening of the throat and like feeling flesh in the face. And I just was, I will say obsessively, I'm not using that word lightly, thinking about the doors and thinking about the kids being in the gym. And if somebody came in with a gun, it would basically be like they were shooting into a barrel of fish, you know? So I go back to the bleachers and I'm sitting there and again playing the part of baseball mom. And now I can feel that I am going to start crying, because that's another lovely thing that happens when my anxiety gets high. And I have my sunglasses on and clapping and I send out a text to 3 of my friends who are chaperoning the event. And I say, hey, listen, just bear with my craziness. You know, always feeling like I need to justify myself, especially to people that don't know that I struggle with this. Always feel like I need to put myself out there and be self-deprecating. I know I sound crazy, but could you just tell me that Riley's okay, my daughter, and that the doors are locked, right? Again, I need somebody else to confirm. What I know is, I know the doors are locked, but I couldn't let go of it. Now they're not responding. And logically, I know they're not responding because they're chaperoning an event where the kids are probably all over the place. But in my mind, I then go into, are they not responding because somebody broke in with a gun and now they're dead? I mean, I know, gruesome, way to be dark, Brie. I get it, but if I'm being honest, that's what I thought. That's truly where my brain went. So now I'm sitting there, if you can imagine, and I have baseball parents this side of me with my husband and my dad on the other side of me, and I'm clapping for the kids and go buddy. And now I realize that I can't even yell out, go bud, let's go, because I can't get out words because that's how tight my throat feels. So I excuse myself again and I walk away and I call my friend that's at the event who doesn't really know that I struggle with any of this, and she picks up the phone and I just start crying. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I quickly try to get out, listen, I know I sound crazy. I'm just having a hard time with everything that's happened recently with the shootings, and I feel really uncomfortable. Like I tried to play down my feelings because I didn't want her to think that I was crazy. And she'd said to me, listen, all the kids are fine, but if you want, she can leave. I can walk her out to you. And part of me wanted to be like, yes, do that. And then thankfully my logical part kicked in and I was like, my kid's having fun with her friends at a 5th grade event. She's gonna be graduating in a few weeks. What am I doing? I'm gonna pull her out of something because I'm struggling, because I factually know that she's okay, that the doors are locked, but something right now isn't allowing my emotional part of my brain to accept that fact. That's on me, that's not on my kid. So no, I'm not gonna ruin her day. So my friend, she was wonderful. She sent me a picture of my daughter, just be like, look, she's having so much fun. And still, I couldn't be okay in that. And I got in my car, I went back and I looked at my husband and he's like, what's wrong with you? Like, what, why do you keep leaving? You missed his hit. And I just said to him, I was like, I can't be here right now. And I remember it was hard for me to get that out. So he's like, okay. And he kind of gave me this look that I interpreted as judgment, or I interpreted as, all right, you crazy woman, fine, leave, whatever. Which wasn't the case, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But I got in my car and I was hysterical crying. And then I started to feel pains in my chest. Now, this is where the panic attack part comes in, because if you're somebody who's had a panic attack or knows about panic attacks, when that happens, now it's not just your anxiety over what you're having anxiety over, but now you start to panic about the panic, about how you feel. And excuse me, and I know this, but because I was having like pains in my chest and I was hyperventilating in my car, I started to panic over, oh my God, am I so stressed out that I'm gonna have a heart attack in my car? And it spirals, and you feel like you're drowning in this cycle of toxic thought and feeling. And you just want somebody to freaking throw you a life vest or something, just like you're okay. So I started texting my one friend who really knows what I'm going through, because she goes through similar things, and she was at her son's hockey game. So now I start to feel guilt that I'm bothering her at the hockey game. I'm like, no, I'm all good. It's okay. You know, I'm having a hard time, but I'm okay. And I drove to my daughter's school after being told by two people, now the doors are locked, seeing a picture of my kid. I drove to my daughter's school because I needed to see that there weren't cops and ambulances in front of the school. And I get there and there was nothing. It was a school with the doors locked. And only then was I able to sort of take a breath and be like, okay, get it together. And I was able to calm my physical symptoms. Now, truth be told, if I was, excuse me, if I was somebody that had a prescription for Xanax, that probably would have been the rare occasion for me to take it, because what I was feeling and experiencing was so intense, and it felt like it was lasting for hours, but really this all probably happened over, I don't know, a 10-minute span of time. So I was able to calm myself down and make myself look somewhat presentable. I had my big sunglasses on, and I went back to the baseball field. And my husband's like, you all good? I'm like, yep, let's go, bud, come on. And I was back into being baseball mom, and I was able to put aside the feelings, put them in its own little neat box, and just be good and move on. Later on that night, I said to my husband, I'm a little annoyed at you, because when I told you I had to leave, you looked at me like I was crazy and like you were judging me. And he had said, that's not the look I was giving you, and I'm sorry if that's how you felt. The look I was giving you is that I just didn't know what to do for you. I don't know what to do. And, you know, my husband doesn't experience anxiety or panic or depression, so he doesn't know what to do, and no fault of his own. So I said, okay, thank you for telling me that. The next time if this happens, the only thing I need for you to do is to say, is there anything I can do for you? Or is there anything you need me to do? Because then I feel like you're just validating the fact that you know I'm struggling. There will be nothing that you can do, most likely. But at that point, I sort of gave him the language and the tool that he needed, so that he didn't feel like, I don't know what the hell to do for her. And then it would make me feel seen and heard at that point. So that was good. It was a good conversation, excuse me, to sort of debrief after. But I was so, I don't know, I was like angry at myself and frustrated and embarrassed, because I'm like, oh, I'm taking the damn Effexor and it works for me. What the hell was that? The thing is, it works for me to balance me out on a daily basis. Do I still have moments where I'm up here? Yeah, where the stress of just being a mom or a human gets to me 100%. But I also know that things like mass shootings, anything that where somebody's life is in danger or taken, where people normally struggle seeing that because it's horrific, I know that that is a huge trigger for me. And I know that I cannot spend the next few days obsessively Googling the victims and finding out about their lives. And that's what I did, because that's where I go in my head. Like, I need to know all the information. And the truth is, I don't need to know all the information. And it's not being disrespectful to victims of violence, but it's protecting my own mental health insanity for me and my family, where I know if I do that, I can't get that information out of my head, and I can't stop the loop of thinking when that happens, where other times I could sort of stop it, but when it comes to things like that, I can't. And then it sets off this chain of events. So good. I got through it. I got through telling you about it without feeling it and without crying. So that's a good thing. But I wanted to share that because it's important to share that even when you're on medication, it is very likely that you're still going to have things that trigger you, or that upset you, or that make you feel your range of emotions. The hope is that if you're on medication for anxiety, depression, or whatever it may be, that it is helping you the majority of the time to just find an even ground, so that you can function in life and enjoy life, and that you are better prepared to deal with the big ups and downs as they happen. But anywho, all right, so guys, that's it. If you've experienced panic attacks, or if you were struggling with anything going on in the world, which I'm sure you are, or in life, feel free to leave it in the comments. I like reading your guys' feedback and your own experiences, and commenting back and just having that dialogue. It helps me, it helps you, and I think that's sort of like what it's all about. But all right, guys, I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.